Hi, can anyone hear us?
Yes, Michelle, I can hear you.
All right. Hi, everyone. Let me just get set up here. It's great to see you all today, or I'm not seeing you, but I know you're here. So thanks so much for joining us. And we're going to go ahead and get started in just a moment. All right. Just 1 second. Almost there. Okay. I just can't see some of my notes. Okay, we're going to get started now. So thanks everyone for being here. As I mentioned, I'm Michelle Glassman. I'm Apexa's marketing director, and we're going to kick things off by sharing the agenda. I'm going to share a background of why we're talking about technical debt today. We're going to talk about what technical debt is and dive into really explaining the problem, why it's happening, and then talk about best practices to mitigate technical debt and how Apexa IQ can help. So I know this says, who am I? What we're talking about here is that there are three types of people in this world generally. And there's people who see a problem, they look and they walk away. They see a problem and then they wait for somebody else to fix it, and then they'll use that solution. Or they see a problem and then they dig in and fix it. And our CEO at Apexa IQ, Lokesh Agrawal, he spent years, his whole career in technology, and he was faced with a huge problem of technical debt. And he really spent like his early years to where he is today trying to solve that problem. And so that's what I'm going to share with you today. All right, so let's talk a little bit about Lokesh's history. As you can see, starting back since the 90s, the mid to late 90s, he started in his career, had so many different technology roles, and really grew in from being in customer support, being in network engineering, all the way to SVP, CTO, and becoming a rookie CEO. And today he's our CEO, and he really spent that time solving the problem of technical debt. And I think when the thing that I want to highlight with technical debt is that it's an existing problem that really gets worse over time. So if you don't spend time fixing the problem along the way, it just builds up, it balloons, and it becomes more costly and really challenging to solve the issue. And that's kind of where we are today. So let's talk about how big the problem is. The problem is well, actually, if I can get some answers, what do you think the estimated technical debt is going to be by the end of 2030? Just popcorn your answers into the chat. Let's see. Do we think it's going to be, oh, I'm seeing 1.3 trillion. I'm seeing 3.7 trillion. Another 3.7 trillion. So let's see. Jose, Mike, you both are right. The answer is 3.7 trillion. So it's going to become a huge problem by the end of 2030. And so you can see it's a combination of solution, which is 60%, and a combination of services, which is 40%. So this was a study done on technical debt to really show you where it was in 2020. It's 67 billion, and moving into 2030, it's going to be 3.7 trillion. So how did it get so big? That's the question here. And really, what do you think is the first reason for this main issue? So just think about it a little bit. All right, so we've got some answers here. Let's skip ahead. And okay, so there's a few things coming into play, and really F is the correct answer, all the above. But let's talk about the biggest two reasons. So everyone who answered F is right. And so the biggest two reasons, one is about utilization of resources. And examples of that are with over procurement, under procurement of resources. As companies grow, there are times when they either over procure and under procure, and it's not intentional, it just happens. And especially when you're managing all of your technology landscape out of spreadsheets and there's multiple business units working in silos, this can easily become an issue. And then also there can be those times when there's that bright new shiny object, and with technology it's always changing. So if a new technology comes out and we don't really know how this technology will benefit us, but sometimes as humans we get excited about something and we buy it before we really understand it, then you buy it and you find out that it's not really needed. So it becomes obsolete almost right away. And then we also have the second reason over here on the right-hand side, which is aging infrastructure. And, especially with mature companies, you think about companies today that have been around so many decades and not keeping up with patching effectively or replacing systems and software on time. We're really just creating all that obsolescence out there. So if we're not keeping up with it over time, on time, you're creating obsolescence all the time, and it can become such a compounding problem that it snowballs. So let's talk about some best practices to mitigate technical debt. The first of which being around developer training standards and controls. What I would say here is that it's imperative to have these controls in place and standards and review them often, because that way you're not creating those vulnerabilities and you're not causing technical debt without being aware of it. So having good training for developers, good standards in place is what's really going to help you. Identifying end of life and critical assets within the technology landscape. So again, doing this on time, making sure that you can see all of your assets, identifying them, patching them in the order of criticality, and then going on to regular maintenance with software updates. So if you keep up with those software updates effectively, you're not creating those problems without knowing. Upgrading selectively. Upgrade what you need to upgrade instead of upgrading what you think you should upgrade or what someone might be telling you to upgrade. That's another good practice. Just being really clear on having the answers and the data around what needs upgraded on time or what needs upgraded at the moment. And then planning for end of life. So plan ahead for it. Know what's going to be end of life now, 6 months from now, a year from now, and have a plan for it so that you can budget effectively and when you're going to be spending money. That will allow you to, if you don't have to upgrade something right away, you can save that money for other types of projects and also keeping talent. And then using reliable data to know the capabilities of IT hardware beyond OEM recommended refresh time. So there's a Gartner statistic that tells us that many laptops, for instance, the vendor will tell you that they have to be upgraded or refreshed within 3 to 5 years, but that's not always the case. So really having the data behind that is going to help you know when you need to do that. So let's talk a little bit about Apexa IQ. And we always say that Apexa IQ was built by technology leaders for technology leaders. And this really goes back to Lokesh and his time, over 20 years in technology, and really understanding the problem of technical debt. Let me just grab a sip of water really quick. Okay, thank you. So Apexa, being built by technology leaders for technology leaders, we are a security first platform. And thinking a little bit about what CISOs and CIOs spend their time on, we know that they spend 90% of their time finding the problem, which only leaves about 10% of the time to fix the problem of technical debt. Fixing problems in 10% of your week is really not enough time to fix the problem. And that's why Lokesh built Apexa IQ. He was the head of a global lifecycle management for both State Street and Citizens Bank, and both companies had more than $1 billion in technical debt with no way to track assets for hygiene, security, vulnerability, obsolescence, and maintenance status, or to be able to prioritize what to action first so that they were compliant. And not only that, but he had to hire outside consultants at about $375,000 for each consultant to help him identify what problems were occurring in the first place. So the number of consultants that he had to hire at the time was about 10 consultants. So you can see he's spending a significant amount of money to fix this problem. So that was 20 years ago. Fast forward to now, and 2 decades later, the problem has worsened. We have such an over-reliance on digital systems. We have more complex environments with the number of assets increasing on-prem, co-located, and in the cloud. We have numerous security tools and management consoles identifying assets differently. And we also have a people problem now. So multiple teams, security and finance department making critical technology decisions and requesting improvements. So 10 times that over like being in multiple locations. Companies are like global now, having siloed workforces and shadow IT, and you've got yourself a really big problem. So what our platform does is it discovers, aggregates, and normalizes all of your asset inventory and vulnerabilities in real time and prioritizes those vulnerabilities for them with built-in configuration management, database and security, excuse me, database and security orchestration and remediation workflows. So let's talk about an example here so that we can, I wanted to share a use case because I thought that might be helpful. And the use case we're focusing on here, because we're talking about saving money today, is on this finance piece. So a US digital cable provider had over 6 million assets to manage, and they needed a way to really ensure that their cybersecurity standards for all assets. So an individual asset costs $700,000 to manage, and all devices had vulnerabilities of CVSS 7 or higher. They saved millions by using Apexa IQ, which automated the process of discovering and securing each device at scale. And so I wanted to share a little bit about my team today. So the people who, if you were interested in talking more about Apexa IQ, it's Mike Sheehan. He's our VP of Business Development. Natalia Botti, she's our VP of Channels and Alliances. And then I'm also mentioned as well. I'd love to take any questions you have because I believe we have a little more than 10 minutes. All right. So our first question, it comes from Jose. And Jose, it's actually, Jose makes a great point, and he's exactly right. You cannot protect what you can't see. And so that was something that while our CEO was, growing up in IT, they were managing like so many spreadsheets, thousands of spreadsheets. There were so many human resources involved in it just to find every single asset. And then, fast forward 20 years and now we have this digital transformation with many more assets that we hadn't even thought of back then. So exactly, Jose, you can't protect what you can't see. What other questions? Yeah, so a great question came in from Natalia Botti. She's asking if I can speak to the importance of the Apexa platform being used cross-functionally. And Natalia, that's such a great question as well. What's really important and I think really cool is that you can have different leaders from different parts of the company. So say for instance, your CIO and your CTO are going to want to know more about, the inventory versus your CFO is really going to be focused on the financial component and the budgeting and how much they can save in the future. And different parts of the business, especially as it relates to, business systems that are managed more by your business counterparts themselves, they're going to be interested in the productivity piece of it. And so, so the great question, Natalia, with the platform being used cross-functionally. And the platform really makes it easy for each different business unit to see the information that's important to them. We always talk about Apexa having a single pane of glass to help you see the information that you need so that you can make decisions. It's not going to be a sea of data where you have to download it and then start to kind of manipulate it yourself and roll things up yourself. You're actually going to be able to see the information that you need so that you can go on and make those decisions. So if you're interested, we would love to show you at some point. So there's another question about the platform being used by SMB versus enterprise. Can you give me a little bit more, Bruna, on that? It can absolutely be used by SMB versus enterprise, and we have both types of customers. So I got another question. I'm just translating it because I don't speak Spanish, so give me 1 second. Okay, Jose, I'm so sorry, but my Google Translate is not working. Let me see what I can do here. Oh, okay, survey still can't be sent. Jose, can you clarify that a little bit? You had mentioned that surveys can't be sent. Hold on, what survey? Yeah, okay. So now I'm seeing that the surveys aren't working. And okay, so there's a technical bug on the platform. So thanks everyone for your patience. You can send that by email. Okay, we have another question that came in about how Apexa works great for audits. I'd love to share that. And so we had a situation where we've been working with a large bank, and the bank is an MSP, so they had over 600 banks, and they were continually failing their audits because they had excess obsolescence, and they really needed a risk and compliance program with lifecycle management so that they could find all of that obsolescence. And the good news is they not only used Apexa for the audit of the first bank, but their auditors asked them to continue using Apexa for the remaining 600 banks. I hope that answers your question, Amanda. We have about 5 more minutes left. Oh, another question from Amanda. We do have multi-tenant capabilities. So the good thing about the platform is that you can use it for single tenant or you can use it for multi-tenant. And as I mentioned, we just used it with a large banking client that had 600 banks. And so they needed to get visibility across all 600 banks so that they could see which banks were in a more critical state and which banks were in a better state. So looking at like which banks had more obsolescence and which banks had less obsolescence. So that we were able to give them the multi-tenant version of the platform where it can give them another dashboard that they can see across all of those banks that they have and be able to kind of like drill in and see where the problems need to be fixed. And then it also like shows them how much obsolescence they have across all of them so that they really know how big the problem is. Great question. So from Bruno, we have, are all the functionalities available within the software or different packages with different levels of capabilities? That's a great question as well. So I would say largely all the capabilities are available within our platform. If you're interested in a multi-tenant solution, you would focus on that. If you're interested in the single tenant solution, you would focus on that. But yeah, we largely have all of those capabilities are within the platform. We don't have like a lot of add-ons and things like that. You're welcome. Any final questions? We have about 3 minutes. I think one other thing that I would mention is that with cybersecurity and cyber insurance being such a big topic today, Apexa is great for when you want to apply or when you want to renew your cyber insurance. It can actually help you reduce your premiums. And we have a customer who he was renewing his cyber insurance. The application for renewal was over 100 pages because this year they're really starting cyber insurance companies are really starting to go granular on those applications because they really want to be sure that they're clear on the state of your technology landscape and your cyber hygiene. So what he was able to do is put the application on one screen. He put Apexa IQ on another, and he was able to fill that out so easily. What used to take him almost a month to fill out took him a few days to fill out. So if you are someone who's looking for cyber insurance, it's a great tool. It's a great platform for sure. And someone just asked if it's also available in Spanish. It is also available in Spanish. Just to give you one more idea around how you can use the platform, if there's anyone in the room who is responsible for mergers and acquisitions, it's a great way to understand technical debt and really do good cyber due diligence for mergers and acquisitions as well. But I hope today's session was helpful for understanding technical debt and hearing a little bit about Apexa IQ. Thanks, everyone.
Muchas gracias a todos por su participación. Los esperamos en la siguiente reunión a las 12:30. Si tienen alguna pregunta con Apexa, ahí en su stand van a estar todas las personas para que la puedan resolver. Igual pueden entrar a las demás marcas para hablar uno a uno con cada una de las personas que están ahí para ustedes. Muchas gracias.